I'm a real person. I'm not AI. This is actually happening. I'm touching Dave. This is actually real things going on because we're live. We're live here at SEC Media Days.
In person.
This is the Overtime Drive. Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen. Cole Thompson, Dave Shumate in the flesh, getting you recapped on everything you might have seen in day 3. 4 coaches spoke. Alabama, Mississippi State, Florida, Oklahoma. We're going to react to all of them, some of the biggest takeaways. But real quickly, if you haven't already, make sure you're locked into the channel by hitting that subscribe button, the ring notification, and, of course, make sure you're following along because we cover college football every single day. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. And check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. And as always, we're proudly brought to you by our friends over at FANDUEL. Go to FANDUEL.com/SECU. Join in the madness today. Make your favorite projections. Make your favorite futures bets. And when you sign on up, place down $5, you win $250 in bonus bets with your first deposit. Signing up, $5, you get $250 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel.com/SECU. Schusters, in person for the first time. How the hell are you?
I get awoken at 1 a.m. The anticipation of Cole, the Bear Thompson, coming to my house, staying in Atlanta with us like Chris did 2 nights ago. He's still staying with us. Both of them are staying with me tonight. But seeing Bear's face when I opened that door in an early Wednesday morning at 1 a.m. was the cherry to the start of my day. And it couldn't have been a bad day if I started my day off seeing Bear's face in person, not only just on StreamYard, but in person. So, Bear, it's all right. No matter what happened here today, a lot of great things today, but seeing you today.
Is it weird to see how short I actually am in person? People all the time.
What are you, Bear? If we're at the combine, what are you thinking? Like, to the T, to the 8th, what are we getting you to?
5, 6 3/4.
So you think you're 3/4?
I think I'll get that 3/4. Maybe I'll get that 1/4 with 5, 7 1/4. I might get that, or the 8.
I'm going to give you 5, 7 1/4.
There, we're going to take it. That's exactly what I want to see. Most people always look at me, they're like, you feel so much bigger because of your personality.
Yeah.
And then you look, it's like, oh, there's just so much torqued up inside that you got to let it out somehow. Now I understand it. All right, let's go ahead and break it on down. Alabama first, 9-4 season last year. Kalen DeBoer looking to change the tides, looking to quite literally get back to the college football playoff by changing the tides. New quarterback, new offensive coordinator. A lot of positives to take away from today. One of the biggest ones, though, is I think his attentiveness to understand winning on the road is going to be essential for 2025. We remember seeing one of our buddies, Chris Marler, actually ask him, when you look at your record, you're able to beat teams and you're able to handle business against top 25 opponents. But then when you go on the road, you struggle. And it's an inconsistent performance, and it's really underwhelming play from all 3 areas, offense, defense, special teams. So what has to change? I think knowing that the team was far from meeting its goals or expectations when playing not ranked teams or unranked teams, but just in general, teams on the road. That is going to be critical because if they have a major game in week 4 and 5 when they take on Georgia in Sanford Stadium, that's a place that Kirby and the Bulldogs have not lost since 2019. They also have to travel to Columbia, Missouri. They got to travel to Columbia, South Carolina. And we don't know what those teams are, but what if they are actually better than advertised? Like, what if we're just not seeing what Eli Drinkwitz and Shane Beamer are, and they end up putting really good production on the field leading up into that game? So the attentiveness of knowing we got to play better on the road. We know that there are going to be trap games for us along the way. It doesn't matter how well we play when we go face off against an Oklahoma team that might be ranked coming into Tuscaloosa. When we go face off against somebody in Atlanta, if we make it to the SEC championship, we're not going to get there if we find a way to shoot ourselves in the foot by playing on the road.
Yeah, to me, it isn't even just the road game because, I mean, they went in Baton Rouge last year. Again, traditionally, Alabama in general have lost 4 times since 1970 there. So any head coaches had some kind of success, I think, outside of Mike Shula and Bryant Denny. So it's not really the road to me. It's where it's these games that you are better on paper and they're kind of trap games. In a game I would look to, and I've said this yesterday, a team I think that's going to drop off a little bit, but where they get Alabama on the schedule is perfect. And it's South Carolina. You mentioned it at Williams-Brice Stadium. It's the week after Tennessee in a week before a bye week, before they go play LSU. Yeah, it's just a bad spot potentially there. I'm looking towards those type of games for Alabama this year. Like South Carolina exactly in that spot is a total, I would say, kind of they could get you there total because you factor in what you're looking ahead towards or you're gonna be so excited from potentially an emotional revenge type of game against Tennessee at Bryant-Denny, and like I mentioned, you go to Willie B the very next week, and all these players. Again, worked in it for 9 and 10 years. They're human beings too, 18 to 22-year-olds. You don't think they are looking ahead a little bit to that bye week after about 8 straight weeks of playing football, going through fall camp. It's that human mentality. So it makes sense. I'm with you, Bear. Not only just the road games, but the games you're supposed to win, that you are the better team. You have the best team on paper roster. Those where I want to see them come in and out almost win during the week, because I feel like they just look so unprepared at times in some of those games like Vanderbilt and Oklahoma.
Well, again, you also have to remember that it doesn't really matter how you play against the ranked opponents, because those are going to help your schedule. It's the ones that are going to hurt you. I think if you look back and say, well, you lost to Georgia and Georgia won the SEC title, but you beat Oklahoma, maybe we are having a conversation. Yeah. Whether or not we think it's right, we're having a conversation about putting them in the college football playoff over a team like SMU that lost in its conference championship. But because of nobody really cares that you beat Georgia, because 2 weeks later you find a way to shoot yourself in the foot in Nashville in a stadium that's not even fully complete. That's where the issue lies. That's the thing that you got to hold on to. So you can't look bad in the games that you're supposed to dominate in. Because if you're going to be able to, I think, wake up for the big ones, and you and I both know this from being Alabama grads, like Alabama once a year will have a game in Tuscaloosa that will make it the biggest and brightest atmosphere in college sports. It will be everything that you think about when you see Death Valley and Neyland and Jordan Hare, and that's a normal Saturday for them, but it's one Saturday for Bama. You got to make sure you wake up and play that way every Saturday if you want to do it.
And I think it's something Alabama fans just naturally, man. Again, it's natural human behavior. Nick Saban lost one game to a team that wasn't ranked in the top 25 to A&M in 2021. Yeah, that's something Alabama fans are not going to be accustomed to is, hey, look, we may not go play our best. I mean, Alabama fans would complain about getting a 17-point conference win at home against Arkansas, and there'd be issues, much less losing to teams that your roster is better than. So that's something they're just not accustomed to doing in the past since 2007, really. They're losing to teams that they're not, that they are actually better than, is something that takes some time to get a little bit of adjustment. And it was stuff like Georgia fans would get frustrated with Mark Richt about it. You could go win some big games, but you would have some no-shows, and that will take some time to get used to. Or, hey, they're just not going to get used to that. And to be fair, again, not comparing Kalen DeBoer again to Nick Saban. It's not happening, but I think it's just talking about the fan base he's trying to have to suffice. And it's like, hey, look, man, it's cool you beat Georgia, but, I mean, it's almost, like you said, Barry, you'd almost supplement first year losing to Georgia, but going back the next week and winning in Nashville.
Oh, you would take that 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, it just looks a whole lot better. And it's a program, a fan base that is not accustomed to losing to teams that they're better than.
A couple of other quick takeaways. The defense is going to be ready for Tommy Castellanos week 1. That is abundantly clear. Yeah. You heard Tim Keenan, you heard Deontay Lawson. Both said that disrespect will be issued. Disrespect will be answered. It will be addressed.
Or handled.
Whatever it is.
Handled accordingly.
I mean, listen, when you put a target on your back like that, Diego Pavia is kind of allowed to say those things because he was able to win last year. And he put up really good numbers against Alabama's defense, a defense that is probably going to be better this season, but was not terrible last year underneath Kane Womack. In a lot of ways, it was pretty good. Tommy C, you are a trick that your mouth can't cash. I mean, it's abundantly clear that irked Lawson, that irked Keenan. And I got to be lucky enough to shake Keenan's hand afterwards because we were doing stuff over at Sports Talk 790. I would not want to go one-on-one with him if I'm an offensive lineman. That is a man on a mission ready to go and deliver straight-up ass-whooping out in Doak Campbell Stadium. And a new Doak Campbell Stadium, too.
Yeah, no, I mean, you felt like it was a team that had some unfinished business. Older guys, I mean, again, you got you had Tim Keenan, Deontay Lawson, and Caden Proctor. I asked Caden Proctor about, like, hey, how are you supplementing you missing the last 2 spring practices? Again, he couldn't practice last year for spring because he was transferring from Iowa. This year he had some injuries. He had to have surgery to get. So he just says it kind of felt like he was behind. He had to treat it that way. Again, Deontay Lawson, I thought, had a good comparison to the Nakai Hill-Green, the Colorado transfer, bringing in some depth to that linebacker room. He was fired up about him. Deontay Lawson coming off his injury, but I heard somebody ask him, how do you feel right now? He said 90%. So it kind of sounded like it was somewhat of an honest answer. He wasn't 100%, but he said 90%. You're right. There's something there with I'll say this. Alabama's 3 guys sounded a little bit more, for the lack of a better term, I just came up with this one off the top of my head. there was a chip on there. Yeah, you could sense there was some unfinished business. They did not live up to expectations. And guys like Deontay Lawson, who are seniors, Tim Keenan, who signed with Nick Saban. I mean, Caden Priker did too, but he's a little younger. They don't want to be that team. I don't think they want to be that senior class. It's like, man, they're the ones that kind of let go of the rope and let the standard fall a little bit.
I think the other thing that you also got to throw in there is that the defense at times wasn't the problem last year for Alabama. It was the inconsistencies on offense. And so you're slapping them in the face by saying, oh, I'm going to run all over this defense. I'm going to be the one to put up massive points. And I love it for the sport. I do. I also love Tim Keenan coming back and saying, we will handle this. This will internally be addressed between me and him when I go and meet him in the backfield. One more big takeaway. Caden Proctor was talking about the wide receiver room. Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton comes on in from Miami. He's very excited. And I think that says a lot about, regardless of who is starting quarterback, it's going to be Ty Simpson right now, almost a guaranteed 100% lockdown. Knowing that you have three guys that you can trust in every single game, one of them being that breakout player. Jeremy Bernard maybe against LSU, Ryan Williams against maybe Georgia, maybe it's Isaiah Horton's breakout game against Auburn. You got to feel really good if you're an offensive coordinator, especially a new one like Ryan Grubb coming on in.
Another name they always throw out there, I feel like Bear in recent interview, Rico Scott is another kid. I feel like a lot of either the players I've heard or Kalen DeBoer. I think he was in Charlotte with Nate Oates yesterday. They were doing something. They brought up Rico Scott. So that's the fourth guy you could potentially bring up at the wide receiver spot as well. And then people forget Jalen Mbakwe moved over to that position as well.
Alabama's going to be
Cole Adams.
Alabama's going to be really interesting. They to me may end up being a team that looks kind of like vintage Alabama. Like, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what I will say is I feel more confident hearing the way the players are speaking, the way Kalen DeBoer kind of addressed the media. It feels like last year was a good stepping stone. We put the wagon way before the horse as fans, just in general, but we're working our way back in. Another team that probably didn't have the wagon put before the horse, and there were some people in the media that did it. I wasn't one of them. In fact, I was berated and belittled by everyone out in Starkville. But Mississippi State, 2-10, 0-8 in conference play. You lose to Toledo. I mean, that is the ultimate low point. A G5 school being an SEC team. But the thing is, Jeff Lebby doesn't believe it has anything to do with the culture or the identity of the locker room. It has everything to do with just a new standard. And remember, this was a team that did lose its head coach out of their own control because of the passing of Mike Leach. They go and change everything underneath Zach Arnett. That wasn't supposed to be the case when he initially signed on to become the head coach. Then they bring in a brand new head coach and go back to the offensive identity with Jeff Lebby. Then it's a brand new reset with a ton of new players and a bunch of defensive players that you don't know if they're going to hit or not. I think that the main point was last year, regardless of what happens, we're okay with it. We're okay with the results. We're okay with having to get stubbed in the toe. We're okay with getting our asses whooped. It's going to build us as a culture. It's going to allow us to figure out who wants to be here for the right reasons, who is going to be able to take that next step forward and kind of build this thing in the image that we think Zach Selman wants and the way that we know that Mississippi State can be built.
Yeah, Mississippi State seems like this team, from talking to some people close to them, I can see this team having the same record as last year, but they passed the eyeball test, and you can tell it's a more competitive team again. I haven't seen a Mississippi – I've said this a million times on our show. I have not seen the lack, I should say, of personnel and the defensive side of the football that I've seen with Mississippi State. I mean, we're talking about – we're used to them having Jeffrey Simmons, Chris Jones, Fletcher Cox, Jonathan Abrams in the
secondary.
backfield.
Again, Jonathan Banks they had Darius Slay. I mean,
Emmanuel Forbes was on
Forbes was on that team.
Yeah, I mean, they always have dudes on that defensive side of the ball, even when they were going 6-6, 8-8, or 8-4, stuff like that. You missed that last year. I mean, their best defensive player last year was probably either DeMonte Russell or Stone Blant, and that kind of speaks for itself. This year, they've improved that. How much? I don't know what it's going to be. Mississippi State screams to me they will have the same record, but the eyeball test, they will be better, more competitive.
No, they're going to look like a more complete team. And I was actually speaking to Isaiah Smith about it. Why didn't he transfer? Because that was one of the very few bright spots of the team last year.
In fact, played at Ole Miss.
You throw in what Davin Booth did maybe, but he was really the big time name. And the big answer they had in return was, I wanted to finish where I started. That's the type of culture that you need down in Mississippi State. You need those guys for Jeff Lebby, because if he's not only selling the program for its future, he also has to sell it with, this is not a stepping stone program. When you come to Mississippi State, you're here because of, we believe that this is the best place for you to better yourself and bring up the conversation, eventually make it to the NFL. I agree with you. I'm not sold that this is going to be a team that feels really, really good on paper. Maybe 1-7 this year. Like they can win a conference game. I think it's pretty fair.
I mean, we both know, man. You go 0-8 in league play back-to-back years. You need a conference win. You're 100% right.
You're gonna have to sell it. And the big thing is that if you don't get a conference win, you're gonna have to sell it. You're gonna have to sell the identity of why should I be back here for another season. So that'll be really interesting. A couple of other takeaways. Brennan Thompson, I think, is going to be a really big time deal. That's wide receiver one, in my opinion. It's not just the fact that he was brought here. It's the fact that he already has a good understanding of Jeff Lebby's offense from when he was at Oklahoma. We didn't get to see him all of last season really take that step forward without having a Jeff Lebby there. But the fact that he knows what Lebby wants, and also Blake Shapen comes from not the same offense, but very similar trajectories, and already has a year underneath his belt learning the ins and outs of the offense. I think that was why they made sure, hey, we're going to get you down to Starkville, get you locked into campus, get you loaded up, make sure that you're learning how to play along with your quarterback. That's going to be the dynamic duo that you're going to look for.
Yeah, and then I asked him about just the depth at the quarterback spot due to Shapen's ability to get hurt. It feels like often. So he talked about bringing in the Florida State transfer, and they signed the highest rated quarterback they've ever signed out of high school in the Taylor kid. So I'll be interested in that perspective if something were to happen to Shapen again.
One other name that I want to talk about real fast is Fluff Bothwell. I heard from almost every single person, Fluff is the toughest player to tackle.
Yeah, I mean, Lebby said that was their best position between him and Booth.
And so I made a bold prediction. I don't think it's too bold anymore, but I said in the video for Mississippi State that they would be top half of the SEC in rushing, if not top 5. I think that they will. I think that is going to have to be because of potentially the Shapen injury. You got to pay attention to that. But the other thing is just knowing that you have Booth back, knowing what Bothwell did. Isaac Smith told me straight up that this is the toughest dude to tackle. Like in practice, he is the hardest player to bring down, and he's got that home run speed. I think that is going to be a major element for this team to at least be competitive. And again, you may end up saying you're 2-10 or 3-9, but as long as you don't look like you're getting walked all over in year 2, I think that's a way to maybe sell the program. But you got to get a conference win.
I think me and Bear, you talked about it. I think when we did the transfer portal reaction of Fluff Bothwell when he left South Alabama to go to Mississippi State, it's not the lack of trust in the running back room between Bothwell and Booth. It's up front on the offensive line. Yeah. And we know if they're not creating creases, that's going to make it hard for them. So, if you put this running back room, let's just say, imagine if this running back room was at Auburn, Bear.
Oh, it would be Auburn. I think you would maybe have, I don't know, top 10 team in college football would be their ceiling.
I mean, potentially, yeah, you're right. Because that's a little bit. Again, I'm not saying Damari Alston, they aren't going to get the job done, but that's probably their biggest question mark outside the quarterback spot on offense. And I said that I used Auburn because of the offensive line they have coming back.
But they also have a major question at running back, and they don't have any questions elsewhere.
Yeah,
like everything else is loaded. And if you had Fluff Bothwell playing out there, and he went to Auburn instead of going out to Starkville, I think that it would be a little bit different. I would feel different about Auburn. That's for dang sure. You know what I will feel different about? Not Mississippi State, for the main reason of I'm looking at their win total on FanDuel.com, and FanDuel right now, you should go ahead and sign on up. FanDuel/SECU to go ahead and make bet. I think that they're going to hit the under.
What are they at? 3.5?
I believe it's at 3.5. So you're right on that line. You and I have talked about it. I think that this is a team that has a lot of things that need to change and a lot of unknowns. But maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe people that are watching the show do. So you should go ahead and visit FanDuel.com, bet the win over, bet the win total. Make sure that when you do, you go to FanDuel.com/SECU. That way you can win $250 in bonus bets at FanDuel.com/SECU. Sign up with Profit Boost tokens, new parlay hubs, build your own same game parlay hubs, or choose from one of the popular SGPs already built in. It's promo code SECU at FanDuel.com/SECU. Disclaimer: must be 21 and present in select states or 18 plus in DC. Present first online real wage money only. $5 first deposit is required. Bonus issued with non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under the agreement of the Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Next team up, it was Florida. Florida went 8-5 last year. GJ Lightweight came on strong. He had a great performance, I think, to close out the season against LSU. Pretty solid day in the fourth quarter against Ole Miss, knocked both of them out of the college football playoff race, played well in the Gasparilla Bowl against Tulane. But then the offseason happens. And the main question that I think a lot of people had was, where's DJ Lagway? Wasn't a full-time participant in practice. So we got to speak to him for the first time.
Yeah.
Billy Napier said they think that he's full-fledged ready to go. He said, I'm full-fledged ready to go. I don't have a prosthetic arm. I'm not just dangling out here. Like, I'm actually built to be able to start playing. And that feels like the sign of exhale relief that you want to hear as a Florida fan. But the problem is that I got to see it.
Yeah.
It's all right now talk. But everyone loves CJ Lagway. The way that Billy Napier talks about him, the way that Jake Slaughter talked about him, the way that Warren talked about it, like everyone clearly has a respect factor for a kid that came in last year replacing Graham Mertz, who was supposed to be just used in certain packages and kind of rotate his way in, get his feet kind of a little bit acclimated into the SEC game, and kind of took over and really had to grow up and mature in front of our eyes. It's great that you have that respect, but we're talking about a team that is going to face off against one of the more daunting schedules in college football. I mean, they face off against Miami and Texas within the first 5
Well, LSU and Miami's back-to-back weeks.
And LSU, so throw that one in there. And that's not even including games where you got to go to Kyle Field. That's not including a game where you got to go face off against Ole Miss, who wants revenge. You got to go to Death Valley this year. So there's so many tests for DJ Lagway. This team, I think, has all the potential to be the breakout roster. Similar to South Carolina, they go on a very good run. One win trickles into two. They gain that momentum, and now they look like one of the more unstoppable teams down the stretch. I think that could be the case, but it only happens with DJ Lagway being fully healthy. And right now, based off the gauge I've heard from people around here, and that's kind of the beauty about what this place is that you meet beat reporters who are in the know. They're a little bit closer. It does feel like, yeah, he is ready to go. His body's not.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think this year Florida, I love this roster. I do love how they've had a lot of retention on this roster of the kids they've signed, even going back to the 22 class, which is kind of a transition class, but really Billy Napier's first real class, full calendar year class, that 23 class. I like everything about it. But if you told me DJ Lagway went down and they had to use Harrison Bailey, oh man, that totally changes the floor of this team. Again, last year, Graham Mertz went down, but you had DJ Lagway right behind him. And again, I don't think they anticipated Lagway playing as well as he did in places like Knoxville last year when he got thrown in when Mertz went down. But I do think specifically this year, if Lagway went down, they do not have that insurance policy behind him. And it would be Harrison Bailey, unless he is improved significantly, which I'd be willing to bet he is not. But overall, I mean, Jake Slaughter was a phenomenal interview. I thought he did a really good job.
Dude, offensive lineman killed in the interview.
Yeah, this is one of the top 3 centers, I think, in the league, arguably number 1. Did a phenomenal job. Real complimentary of his coaching staff and stuff like that. Caleb Banks was good. Obviously, DJ Lagway, I asked him his favorite passing concept. Spit that out right off the top of it. You can tell the kid loves football. It's not about it. I don't think anybody's questioning the athletic, actual like physical ability. It's obviously the health of him, and they'll have 2 weeks to get it right before they really get thrown into the gauntlet where they go to Baton Rouge and they have to go to Miami back-to-back weeks. So you're right, Bear. I mean, Florida's pretty easy to summarize. It's all about the health of DJ Lagway. Billy Napier went into, you can tell he's big on personal character type of stuff. A phenomenal culture over there, even off the field with their staff, going back to his Louisiana days. But that's where I'm with you. The DJ Lagway health, if you made me say, do I feel better or worse about it after coming to this? And Barry, you make a good point. You hear more sources, people that are around the program. I would probably say a little worse, which makes me, I have Florida finishing 5th in the league right now. So I made that prediction on him being healthy. And again, I'm not going to make any predictions on guesses of injuries. But
sure.
Yeah, I mean, that makes me feel like Florida's probably got the highest ceiling, lowest floor of anyone in the league.
Of all of us, I think you were the highest on Florida. Like, I had them in my top 7. I think Chris had them in his top 8. You had them top 5.
Yeah,
like you're very high in Florida when fully healthy.
Yeah, because I think everybody's kind of all over the place for that.
Never mind. Chris had him 5th.
Chris had him 5th. I think everybody's a little all over the place with that 5th spot. Like I was on Jocks and they asked, who is that 5th team? It's like, or what's the storyline? I was like, it's interesting to see who everybody thinks is going to be that 5th spot. I think Florida's in that spot. We'll hear A&M tomorrow. Barry, you like South Carolina in that 5th spot. I think everybody's kind of all over that spot. Florida's definitely in that spot. It's just, as we talked about, Bear, I just don't think they have that insurance policy in the backup and the quarterback depth that they had last year. The
other thing that's really, really intriguing is somebody asked Billy Napier about his recruiting style and how a lot of the recruits that he brought in 3 years ago are still on the roster. And there was not a lot of turnover. So the buy-in from the players is actually still at an all-time high, which speaks major character about who Billy Napier is. I think it also speaks volume about the way that he goes about landing certain recruits. So when they go and they commit, they're here for the long haul. But that also worries me in a certain sense, because if you're here for the long haul and we're still seeing 6-6, 5-7, not making bowl games, 8, you're not even close to the college football playoff, and we know what the standard is at Florida. Well, then it goes to coaching at this point. And so at some level, you kind of have to ask yourself, Billy's bringing in the right players. Billy definitely is retaining the right players. People want to be here. But why are we still seeing inconsistencies when it comes to play designs or execution on the offensive line or special teams drills? Just stuff like that. That's where you're kind of sitting at when it comes to Billy Napier, because of you're able to hold on hope that there's a lot of positivity surrounding what he's doing on the recruiting trail. But it goes back to development. It's like the way I feel about Hugh Freeze right now. Like, I believe Hugh Freeze as a recruiter is one of the best in the industry, and you're seeing it by who's coming into Auburn. But why are you going 6-6? Why are you going 5-7 with top 10 recruiting classes? That's development and coaching.
Yeah, they need to come out of the gate. I feel like under Billy Napier, they have not came out of the gate firing yet. I mean, I know they had that big win his first year against Utah, but then they backed it up with a loss to Kentucky the next week. We saw them get blown out against Miami to open up the year last year. And again, I'm not saying they need to go win in Baton Rouge and Miami, but you definitely need to go split them. You should head into Baton Rouge 2-0. I mean, guy, if that doesn't happen, you're in big trouble. But yeah, I think 3-1 after the first 4 would be a solid start to year 3 for Billy Napier.
I'll tell you one thing: if they could just be consistent.
Year 4.
If we knew that they were just the same team week in and week out, the one that could beat Georgia, beat Texas, even if they don't win that game, but they look like that, and then don't find a way to shoot themselves in the foot against Kentucky or like a Mississippi State, that's a massive win for Billy Napier too. Yeah. Because the one thing you don't want to do is beat up on a team like Utah that was built that year to go on a run and then go 6-6. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, because Utah ended up being a good football team that year.
They were a really good football team.
They ended up being a really good football team that year. So that was a quality win, but you backed it up with, again, it wasn't a bad Kentucky team either, but you backed it up with a no-show against Kentucky at home.
A team that wasn't good last year and hopes to be better this year is Oklahoma. They were the last to speak. Brent Venables, John Mateer made his debut in a Sooner uniform at SEC Media Days. 2 great defensive players, and Robert Spears-Jennings and R. Mason Thomas all spoke. I'll tell you one of the biggest takeaways that I had, the confidence of John Mateer that this offense is going to look so different, but also similar underneath Ben Arbuckle, kind of should send shivers down the spine of defense coordinators. Because remember, this is a dude that last year threw for over 3,000 yards, ran for over 800, led college football in total touchdowns. And he was doing it with the same offensive coordinator. And he said that we've changed some things up, a little bit of personnel, added in a couple of trick plays, added in a couple more RPO, a little bit more spread. We feel confident that the offense that we're going to see this year may be just the next step forward in the DNA revolution of what we were kind of breaking out in Pullman last year. And what he was doing in Pullman last year was awesome. When you put up 45 touchdowns, I don't care what level you play at, you're a good quarterback. Like, you know the position, and you know how to run what your offensive coordinator wants, who is also following you from Pullman down here. I think that if they can just have consistency at the wide receiver position and the offensive line gives him time, because he's going to run the football. Like, we know that one of his biggest strengths is that his mobility is staying out there. If they could just give him slight amount of time, this is going to be a really intriguing offense. Like, the way that we talk about some defenses being night and day difference from a season ago, that's how I feel about Oklahoma's offense. Like, dreadful, terrible, really, really underwhelming. You're not going to notice it. It will be a complete new unit this year.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I thought BV brought typical energy, typical how you always remember him as a defensive coordinator. I thought he had some good things to say. He talked about Jim Nagy overall in that relationship. Really, you can tell there was almost kind of was a separation in the way he talked about Jim Nagy's staff, not like in a bad way, separation, but definitely like very NFL type of concept. Him and his staff do a really good job. It's normally when you hear these coaches talk about their GM and stuff, it's, our staff, or we do a good job, but it was like his staff. So you can tell Jim Nagy's been giving plenty of reins to go fix this roster at Oklahoma, and I do think he will, because he's going to do some things I think some other programs are not as ahead of the curve as he will be from his NFL background. So I thought that was interesting. Someone brought that up. I thought their players were fine. John Mateer was very well spoken. R. Mason Thomas, Spears was all. I mean, not a lot of people were around it, but he had some good quotes as well. Oklahoma. I mean, I think me and you were pretty high on Oklahoma Bear. I mean, again, the schedule's a bear, but no pun intended. But I don't know. I'm like, they can't have the injury luck in a negative way that they had last year. I mean, that was probably one of the most depleted teams from starting to fall camp to the end of the year that I could remember. There is no way, similar to how I'm higher on Auburn, I don't think they lose all those close games again. That's why I'm buying on Oklahoma not having the injury bug in a negative way that they had this year. So that kind of stuck out to me. Other than that, Oklahoma's about status quo to me. I mean, I know a lot of people want to know about John Mateer. I think he'll be fine, but I just don't think they can have the injuries they had last year. But a lot of, they need to bear. Their schedule. You need to start off 3-1. If I'm saying that about a lot of teams, can't lose to both Michigan and Auburn, especially at home. So they need to start off 3-1. I think to really get that ball rolling to potentially compete for a playoff spot.
We only have seen little of John Mateer in spring practice. We've only heard of Jaden Ott. But again, I feel really confident with Jaden Ott.
He wasn't brought up a lot today. He was another guy.
But he was mentioned by Brent Venables as a home run threat. This is a guy that we think can do it on all downs, a guy that we believe can be a difference maker by moving the chains. He is more than just being a running back. We're going to utilize him out of the backfield and passing attack. He's going to be good on passing downs and pass protection. He has the breakaway speed that you want. Again, this was one of my favorite moves of the entire offseason. Like, John Mateer was up there. It was probably number 2, if not number 1, of just transfers coming on in. Jaden Ott's like right behind it because of the offense that is going to be playing it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And again, he's a guy, health, going into a team that had a bunch of injury, bad injury like last year. Can he stay healthy? If he can, I fully expect a big year for Jaden Ott.
Before we get on out of here, who is the team that you feel the most confident about going into week 1 of the 2025 college football season?
Of the teams
of today, yeah.
I'll say Alabama. I just really like the way their players carried themselves. It felt like you were talking to any 3 Alabama representatives that would have attended a media day from, I'm not going to say 08 to that point, but maybe because you had Antoine Caldwell was a monster and kind of was the voice. So I'll go from 08 to 2023. You kind of felt like that was at a real Alabama media days. The team had Tim Keenan, Deontay Lawson, K. Brown, all had chips on their shoulder. I would say Alabama's a team I felt good about going into the year, but almost solidifying that after today.
It's Alabama. I mean, I don't want to be too long-winded, but the years where Nick Saban kind of had a mission set at the beginning when we ended last season, and he was like, all right, return on the page, 24 hours, celebrate the national championship, let's move forward. It felt similar. Mm-hmm. The entire offseason plan with how they went about the transfer portal, how they went about bringing in recruits, how they went about practice, how they went about with the quarterback position. We're leaving it to be an open battle. We're not going to name anybody. We want the best competition. And then the way that everyone just spoke today and the way that everyone was confident but not cocky. Very much we're going to do our job. You don't want to believe in us. Cool. We don't really care, at all. We feel really, really, really good about the direction that we're going in. And people got to realize this. And I'll say this right in the camera one more time. You put way too much pressure from a national perspective on Kalen DeBoer, because Kalen DeBoer was breaking in as a new head coach in the SEC, replacing the greatest to ever do it. 9-3 first year. It's not the standard in Alabama, but also it's kind of okay for one season. How you respond this year is what is going to be defined for Kalen DeBoer long term. But you can't sit here and be like, oh, he went underwhelming 9-3, missed the college football play. Like, you'd be lucky that most staffs with this much turnover, with this much roster reconstruction, with how many players that they had to bring on in and kind of reteach the ropes and learn a brand new personnel, you would get these type of results. You beat Georgia, you beat LSU. You just can't lose to these close call matchups against teams that are vastly more underwhelming than you. And I don't think that they will. I think that this is, again, one of those moments where you look at Alabama, you walk away and you say, that feels like old Bama. Like that feels like the one that we're used to seeing. That's the one that we're accustomed to making a run to the college football playoff. And if you check my rankings, they are going to the playoff, and they are going to be getting that first round bye.
All 3 of us have Bama in the playoffs.
We all have about Bama in the playoffs. I have them winning the SEC championship. I think Chris has them in the SEC championship, and then you just have them in the playoffs.
I'm in 3rd. Yep.
All right, he's Dave Shumate. I'm Cole Thompson. We're going to wrap this thing on up. Thank you for watching. Make sure that you like the video, hit the ring notification. Of course, subscribe to the channel because we talk college football every single day. We're doing everything from bowl predictions to 3 most important games, everything that you want. And a special shout out to Splendaddy, formerly Sugar Daddy, who says with $2, Texas Yeah, they run the SEC.
Bear, he just tossed you a beer, man.
Listen, I'm okay with
I mean, this soccer game, you may have to fork over
I'm
like,
gonna
about
have to
like
fork over like
$15 more.
$15 but you know what? It's coming to the fun.
It's a
If you want-
discounted beer.
If you want to send any more money real fast, we really appreciate it. All right, we're out of here. Make sure that you download the podcast version of the show. Check out all our great work found at seCunfiltered.com and go over to FANDUEL.com/SECU. Join today in the madness. Sign up, $5, $250 in bonus bets with your first deposit. $5, lay it down, $250 in bonus bets when you win your first bet. He's Dave Shumate. I am not an AI robot. I'm actually a real person. Chris Phillips, myself, Dave, will wrap up SEC Media Days tomorrow. Have a good rest of your Wednesday night. We will see you bright and early. Texas A&M, Arkansas, Kentucky, Missouri. Let's close this thing on out and on a good day.